Good morning, everyone. On today's show, well, it's my final consecutive streaming day of the week. We got a lot of odds and ends to kind of wrap up with. For example, I saw Ubisoft Forward, and I saw the 20-plus minutes of gameplay of Dragon Age Veilguard, and I'd like to talk about that on today's show. We've got some interesting factoids and stats about Elden Ring and its upcoming DLC. Obviously, I want to talk a little bit about how everything went yesterday with a day full of indie games, and more. It'll be a more laid-back, chill podcast. So buckle in, get ready. Let's get started. And welcome to the show. Today is Wednesday, the 12th of June, 2024. The final consecutive streaming day of the week for me. A pretty good streaming week with a good variety of stuff covering all of these digital events that happen. Playing a quick DLC. Enjoying an awesome indie game or two. And of course, continuing on with my playthroughs of AAA games as well. So, an excellent mix, I would say. Really enjoyed this week. And before we even start, I have an interesting factoid for you, which I did not know until this very morning, okay? So, last night I was playing Stardew Valley on my mini PC, which means when I was doing it, I had this controller, a standard Xbox or Series X controller, plugged into the mini PC via USB. This does not have any batteries in it, okay? It's running off of the USB cable. And you know, at the end of the night, I shut down, disconnected everything. And this morning, I hooked the HDMI cable as well as the Ethernet cable to my Xbox Series X. And forgot to disconnect this controller from the mini PC. So, I went ahead and I said, let's turn everything on. And I turned the power on, and guess what? My Xbox turned on. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I guess what happens is once this controller establishes a connection with an Xbox console, the new gen console, Series console, it keeps that connection. Now what's weird about it is this has been powered down and there's no batteries in it, so it has some kind of a memory system in it to remember that wireless connection even when it has no charge whatsoever. Okay, that's neat. I didn't know that because right now it's plugged into my mini PC. Is getting power from my mini PC, which is off, but is still working on my Xbox perfectly fine. I guess it's working wirelessly, right? So that's cool, I guess. I guess the question is, which I don't know the answer to this, if you plug this directly in via USB, you get a different connection than if you are using it wirelessly. And what I mean by that is if you're using it wirelessly, obviously there may be some delay or some interference. There's always that factor. Now, obviously, we're like how many gens into wireless technology, and it's very good now. But I'm just curious, like if you have a wired connection versus wireless connection, if I'm now playing on Xbox wirelessly, do I have slight delay? I don't know. I think for PlayStation, people have said yes, that it absolutely does use a different connection technology when you're plugged in via USB versus wirelessly with the Bluetooth. So that's a good thing. Especially like, for example, when I'm going to be playing Elden Ring DLC, I want to have the best connection, so I'm a wired controller, right? But I just don't know if it affects Xbox. I'm moving, I mean, you can hear this, right? I'm moving around right now. It seems instant. Doesn't seem like there's any delay or anything like that, so whatever. So I guess the truth is, I don't ever have to unplug this from my mini PC. I can forever leave my Xbox controller plugged into it and don't have to move it around, and that's good. That's less hassle for me. So just a little bit of trivia tidbit there if you had no, I don't know if anyone knew that or not. And no, Don Fanucci, there's no batteries in this. Look. Empty. So it's only running off USB power. That's pretty weird. I had no clue that it could retain the wireless connection signal like that. Luckily, this doesn't have the ability to power up the PC. It does power up the Xbox. It doesn't power up the PC. Because imagine if I turned this on and it turned on both the PC and the Xbox at the same time. That would be pretty confusing, but it doesn't do that. Okay. That's neither here nor there, just a little bit of trivia for you. Good morning, Robbie. So, everyone, welcome to the show. My final consecutive streaming day of the week. And like I said, what I would really like to do on this show, it'll be a more chill, laid-back atmosphere. We don't have any insanely serious business to talk about. But yesterday, I had the opportunity with my wife to watch both the Ubisoft Forward and the Dragon Age Veilguard. Is it Veilguard? I always get it confused because it reminds me of Dawnguard from the Skyrim DLC. And I keep thinking it's not right that I'm thinking of it wrong, but I think it is Veilguard, right? I think that's the name of the game. I saw both of those presentations, and I'd like to talk about them here on the show today. It is the Veilguard. Okay, so I'm not crazy. Gotcha. So we'll talk about that today. I have an interesting update regarding Elden Ring. So we are less than 2 weeks away from the Elden Ring DLC. We're like 9 days away or something like that, right? And the stats are in. The vast majority of people who have played Elden Ring never actually went and fought the Moog boss fight so they could play the DLC. And I'm wondering how many people are unaware that they actually have to go do that. We'll talk about that this morning. When we hear these stats, it's pretty darn funny. Outside of that, just a few odds and ends. I want to talk about yesterday, obviously, and the fun Indies Day that we had, and also the week ahead, because this coming week, just to forewarn everyone, going to be a lot of Fallout 4, and there's good reason for it, because we have new releases impending. We have 3 new releases pending. In less than a week, we have Still Wakes the Deep, the horror game. In a few days after that, we have the Elden Ring DLC. And then just a few days after that, we have Bison releasing in Street Fighter 6. So with 3 big pieces of interesting gaming stuff coming out in the next week or so, I want to give this week kind of a final push, last hurrah for Fallout 4. I'm not saying that Fallout 4 is going to end or stop, but it's going to be played dramatically less. For example, once the Elden Ring DLC comes out, just expect that's going to be my major focus for a while. I may take a break from it every once in a while, but it's going to be a lot of daytime streams. Night streams will then be varied. You know, one night I may do Street Fighter, one night I may do Fallout, one night I might do Still Wakes the Deep. It all depends. So, because of that, I want to play as much Fallout as I can between now, Friday, Saturday, Monday. 4 days of Fallout coming up. So for Fallout fans, you're in the right place. The question is, what do we want to do? Do we want to advance the main plot, go to the Institute, get some questing going there, and then determine what else? Do we want to start a DLC like Far Harbor or Nuka World? Like, I'm okay with whatever. I really am. It doesn't really matter. I've really been enjoying the laid-back feeling of this playthrough where we're in no rush. We can do as much as we want. We're already, I believe, almost 40 hours into this playthrough, correct? We're 43 hours into the playthrough. Wow. 43. I didn't even realize it. That's what I mean. This playthrough's been kind of so chill that I'm not even really tracking it to pay attention to it. And here we are over 40 hours in. I'm like, whoa, we're over 40 hours into this game? Yeah, pretty wild, right? Anyway, I really feel like, of course, this will also be a playthrough that will be more ongoing over the course of this dead summer. And what I mean by that is, if you were here for the weekend, you know, July and the first 3 weeks of August have almost nothing whatsoever going on. Almost zero. So because of that, it's going to be opportunity to focus on other things. For example, doing more chill Fallout streams, right? So, that's going to be a good opportunity to maybe come back and focus on it. You know, once we get through all this stuff in late June, which will probably take like the first half of July, maybe then jump back more heavy duty into Fallout 4, okay? So anyway, let's begin at the start, which should basically be what we did yesterday. So yesterday I played 2 indie games right here on this stream. Well, on this channel, I should say. The first was Crow Country. And I'm happy to say that I did finish it yesterday with pretty much the exact timing that I was expecting. And now that I've beaten it, you know, I'd like to kind of give my thoughts on it overall. So for those who don't know or didn't follow the playthrough, Crow Country is a throwback style homage survival horror game to the early PS1 era when the graphics were blocky and the angles were kind of this weird top-down isometric view. And, you know, you had kind of tank controls and limited ammo, and enemies would jump out and surprise you and stuff like that. Although this game looks that way, it absolutely has many modernizations that make it a much more enjoyable game for a current gamer. For example, it actually doesn't have tank controls. At first it looks like it does, but it has full 360 range movement. The aiming is free aiming with a thumbstick, and every single gun has a laser sight that can be found that makes it dramatically easier to aim with them. So it's not the old style, can't tell what I'm shooting at, camera angle is fixed. You can actually rotate the entire camera in the area so you can see from every angle. You won't get stuck behind a wall or whatever, right? So they've definitely added a lot of improvements to the old engine. However, the graphics look very much like an early PS1 game. Like, a lot of people compared the character models to Final Fantasy VII, right? Not the combat, but like the character models walking around the environments. And I agree. I think that's what they were actually going for with this game. However, where this game excels is its vibe. It feels like an old school survival horror game. It's got the atmosphere and the level design and the gameplay elements and the chill, eerie story and the suspenseful atmosphere and the music. Also, very, very ominous and scary at times. And then when you get into the save rooms, it's nice and happy and feels warm and safe. So it basically hits all those notes of what you were looking for from a game back in the day. Basic plot synopsis. You are a woman named Mara who arrives at an abandoned amusement park called Crow Country. You're looking for the owner, Ed Crow, and as you go through this amusement park, you find out that it's been overrun by monsters and people are dying all over the park. You run into many different people who are there who are trying to basically survive and escape, and they all have different stories. You run into the family members of Edward Crow to try to find out what actually happened at this park and, you know, this ominous plot of what's going on. That's pretty much as I'm going to say about the plot, because there is a lot of cool writing and plot twists in this game that completely throw you on its head like 2-3 times during the game. Really neat. But basically it's set up kind of like a Resident Evil game where at first you can only access certain areas, but then you'll find a key or open a shortcut and then you can go to another area. Yes, you have to backtrack a lot to solve puzzles and use items to unlock something else. There's a bunch of secrets that can get you rare guns, upgrades for your guns, and things like that. I would say, if for those who are fans of like classic survival horror, Resident Evil and Silent Hill, you're definitely going to see a lot of those kind of references and or things that will remind you of them. So that's a neat thing, right? For sure. I would even go as far to say people who like Five Nights at Freddy's kind of has kind of that early graphical vibe. You know how Five Nights originally was like very pixelated? The game is. I mean, it's meant to look like that on purpose. So it kind of has that kind of retro throwback, eerie, chill vibe to it. That you know, it's animatronics in the game and stuff. It's creepy in that regard. So definitely I liked it a lot. It's around 8 to 9 hours long. If you go for everything, you could probably beat the game quicker than that, but I went for all the secrets and it took me about 8 to 9 hours. Is there replayability? Well, you could replay the game, but really all that happens is they add some like targets to shoot as a bonus objective, and that's about it. Yes, you do get, just like Resident Evil, once you beat it, you unlock bonus weapons and things for your second run to make it a little bit more fun. But overall, once you've beaten it once, you're going to see the whole thing. I almost platinumed it. I missed like 2 critical trophies that I needed to get. I think one of them was only heal yourself 10 times during the playthrough, and I healed myself like 30, so that didn't work. I think the other one was, oh, you had to kill all the optional bosses. There was one optional mini boss that I escaped but never fought it, so it didn't count for that. And then I think another one was, there's a quiz game in an area, and I only got like a certain score, and they said if you like max the quiz game, you get like a trophy for that. So it was very simple. If I had known those trophies ahead of time, I probably would have platinumed the game. I will say this, the one shortcoming of the game, the combat is pretty easy. At first, it seems like maybe it's going to be like Resident Evil, like classic Resident Evil, but after a while, you tend to realize, okay, there's kind of a lot of ammo around, and these enemies aren't exactly the scariest when it comes to being able to hit you or hinder your progress. A lot of the times, you can just like walk right around the enemies, and they can't really do anything. So once you realize that, you conserve ammo a lot. Although, this game does have an interesting mechanic. If you don't kill enemies, they tend to stick around, and then more enemies will spawn during certain parts of the game. So if you don't clear a room of enemies, you might go back there later, and there's like 7 enemies in there, and like, oh shit, I can't get through this room unless I kill something, which obviously could make it more tense. But for the most part, you know, being someone who's played almost every classic survival horror game, the game was just not very challenging. The final boss was an amazing pushover. Now, maybe it's because I had a lot of the rare ammo and hadn't used it, expecting that like the final boss would be a big challenge. No, pretty easy. I think I get hit once the entire boss fight, so not a big deal. Although I will say the ending of the game is interesting story twist that I did not see coming. It was pretty neat. So if you like that throwback retro vibe of classic PS1 era survival horror games, if you're looking for a game that's an homage to the past, and you understand all of that, Crow Country is just for you. However, it's not for everyone. So many people always want ultra challenge. The game is not ultra challenging. Therefore, some people are immediately going to get turned off. And some people want a game that's more modernized. Well, the visuals are purposefully not modernized. And a lot of people have issue with that. I saw the first time I played the game a week ago, people were in the chat saying, oh my God, I can't believe that's how the game looks. There is no way that I can stick around for this playthrough. I'm incredibly bored. So if you're into graphics, you're not going to like the game. But overall, I really enjoyed it. It was, what, $20 for an 8 to 9 hour experience? Had a great time. I'm glad that I played it. Thanks to those who recommended it. That was a perfect game for a little bit of filler content until the new releases come out. It really worked well. So thank you for that. Okay. Last night on the late stream, for the first time ever, I actually did a real stream of an indie game called Stardew Valley. Now, it's funny because when I first played Stardew Valley like 7 years ago, okay, it was relatively new. So when I played it during an Indies marathon, I thought, oh, this is kind of a neat concept. So it's a farming simulator, but it looks like there's some other added content in there. And I remember I played it for like an hour to an hour and a half. And then eventually, like a few months later, I was doing what was known as like a chill stream where all I did was kind of hang out with people and talk. It wasn't about the gameplay. I think I played it for like another half an hour then. And then I literally didn't touch this game again until like 2 weeks ago when I did an Indies marathon. People nominated and voted it in again. So when I had played it the second time, now that this time on my mini PC, people were intrigued. They were like, oh, so, you know, this is interesting because now in the 7 years since the last time you played it, you actually do chill streams, you know, pretty regularly. I know I do a late night stream where it's not super focused on the gameplay, but instead it's about us kind of interacting and having a fun time with the social experience, while there's also a game kind of going on too. And there's so many games that have been like this over the years, including Minecraft, Microsoft Flight Simulator, Subnautica, the Bassmaster fishing game, you know, among others. You know, that's just off the top of my head games that we've done like this. So now, I played the game last night. Let me tell you, that was a great stream. Now, we didn't have a lot of viewers, admittedly. I think we had, you know, maybe 250 viewers, if that. But I would tell you right now, that was very enjoyable. It was chill. There was a lot of interaction of us not only talking about mechanics and things in the game, but also other conversation as well. It fit perfectly into that slot of a late night chill stream vibe feeling. It was really dead on what you're looking for in that. Now, you know it's not going to be for everyone. Again, it's a game with outdated graphics purposefully. It's meant to look like a 16-bit game, right? Even though it's not. But what I found last night playing Stardew Valley is that this game is not just a simple farming simulator, okay? This game has a lot to it. First of all, you have all these townspeople, okay? And the townspeople all have their own stories. They have different jobs in the town, so you can interact with them and get things done, like go to the blacksmith and get a geode snapped open so you can see what's inside. You know, go to the carpenter, have her build something for you, stuff like that. And I guess if you have, you know, conversations and relationships with these people, they befriend you, and then there's quest lines and things that happen as a result, which is really neat. Not only is there farming, but there's fishing, there's foraging and gathering, and many other things that you can do. I actually discovered the mine and spent a good amount of time in my second hour last night in the mine fighting monsters, digging, getting rare ores and items. And by the end of the night, I was able to craft some good stuff, like a furnace where I was smelting ores and stuff out of it. And I'm like, wow, there's a lot to this. And people are like, yeah, and that's only the first like 2 hours. You've only seen the very tip of the iceberg. This game has a lot of stuff in it to do if you get into the meat of it. So people have outright said they've played this game for hundreds of hours because of the amount of content in it. That's pretty wild, okay? So far, the first 2 hours, I really like it. I think it's something that as long as we get people who will show up, engage, and support, meaning it can't be just me playing it by myself. I feel like if I play this game by myself, I would be bored. But having an interactive audience, people who are going to chill with me, have conversation, talk it out, help me with the game, and just in general have a good time, enjoy each other's company while I'm playing it, that's exactly dead on what it's kind of going to work with. And I'll say this, you know, the audience was great. There was a decent amount of support on the stream too. And there's actually a few people who outright said, if you keep playing this, we'll come back. Like, we like this game enough that we will come back and always be with you and hang out and support these streams. So as long as that keeps happening, I have no problem actually making Stardew Valley an ongoing chill stream deal. Now, keep in mind, your mileage may vary here because some games we've tried and for a few streams they worked and then they fizzled out. But then there's other ones like Minecraft where I played the darn game for over a year consistently. So what will Stardew Valley turn into? I don't know. I guess we'll see. But I'm excited because I really liked it. And so that gives me hope that maybe this could be a new kind of ongoing thing that we do for a long time. And, you know, maybe it will. Or maybe it'll be another Disney Dreamlight Valley where we do it for like a month or two and then it gets boring and we never do it again. But I guess we'll see. Time will tell, right? So cheers to everyone in the last week who checked out any of my indie games content here on DSP Gaming. I certainly hope that you'll all enjoy the finale of Pro Country and the fun Stardew Valley gameplay from last night. Now, I'm not checking views really. I'm just looking at it really for the first time now, and I would guarantee you these videos don't have many views. No, they don't. I knew it. What's bizarre about this is the final part of Crow Country has a really abnormally low amount of views. It's the final part, and not even 200 people have looked at it yet. That's a little weird. But at the same time, they're indie games. I'm not expecting the world from them. And, you know, I beat Crow Country. Like I said, I even said this on the stream last night with Stardew Valley. I am not expecting that Stardew Valley will get many views on demand. I think that's going to be a game that's for stream audiences, right? For us to have that social experience while I'm playing. That's the appeal. There won't be that many people following it on demand, watching it after the fact. I'm not expecting that, okay? So we'll just see what happens, all right? Cool. Now, let's cover the schedule for the rest of the week because this is a week that's a lot of Fallout on purpose before new releases hit, okay? So today it is Fallout 4, and like I've already stated, I'm not sure if we should advance the plot line and go to the Institute and get those missions unlocked and maybe start working on that, unless you guys want to see me do a DLC. I have both Far Harbor and Nuka-Cola World ready to go. If that's what you guys want today, I'll kind of leave it to the audience to decide exactly what it is that you would like to see, and we'll go from there, okay? Tonight on the late stream, it is Street Fighter 6. It is the return of Dalsim. I'm going to do just a little bit of casual gameplay, essentially to knock the rust off, per se. And then we're going to go right to ranked, and I'm going to do a lot of ranked gameplay with Dalsim tonight. I'm hoping that it at least goes as well as it did with Honda the other day, where I actually stayed around 1,500 points, and by the end of the night had gained a few. That's my goal, to just maintain, you know? I don't think right out of the gates, I'm going to immediately start climbing the ranks with insane amount of wins. But Dalsim is improved, particularly the fact that his level 3 super combo's way easier now, which was needed. And also his combo ability with his jabs and stuff seems to be improved. I actually was doing the teleport backwards cross-up combo, which I was never able to do before. I was able to start doing it now. Oh, plus, by the way, having no input delay on my joystick is helping a lot with this character too. You know, this is a character where you need to keep people zoned. And man, if you're delayed and you hit the wrong button, and that's it, you get a giant punish, you're done, you know? So you got to be on the game. And I think definitely out of the characters that I use, this character will be most improved with no input delay. So having the VRR and everything enabled is going to be great. I'm really excited to try him out tonight on the late stream, 6:45 p.m. Pacific time. I'm off from streaming on Thursday. When I return on Friday, it's going to be more Fallout 4 and more Street Fighter 6. This time around in Street Fighter 6, I'll probably either go to Zengi for Lily. Again, one of the other characters that I'm trying to get into the groove with and basically get to ranked. So it'll be ranked with someone, okay? Saturday will be, yes, even more Fallout 4. Saturday night, I think we'll do our second stream of Stardew Valley and see how it works. Sunday is our React Day, so it'll be DSP versus the Internet Clip Show on DSP Reacts, and then Retro React to Rise of Nightmares continuing on DSP Throwback. Monday, more Fallout 4 and more Street Fighter 6, all right? And you might say again, oh my God, that's a lot of the same. Yes, but that's on purpose, because this is it. After that day, Fallout 4 is not going to be day streams for a while, okay? So that's Monday. Tuesday, the premiere of Still Wakes the Deep, the new horror game that comes out on Game Pass that day. It's a first-person game where you're basically investigating an oil rig. I believe what the story is that this oil rig somehow is not responding anymore to radio communications and no one knows what's happened. You're part of a rescue group that go out there and you find a crazy amount of like death and monsters and stuff, and that's what the game's about. So that'll be starting on Tuesday. Tuesday night will be Stardew Valley, and then Wednesday will be more Still Wakes the Deep. And Wednesday night we'll decide, do we want to do a Fallout 4 stream or do we want to do Street Fighter 6? Okay. Then I'm off that Thursday, but then that Friday, the 21st, is the premiere of the Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. I'm going to be playing it all day long. Yes, that means no Friday night fights on the 21st. I'm going to be playing Elden Ring all day long to get into the DLC. And then, essentially, Elden Ring will be day streams, and night streams will rotate between the other games in the rotation. Okay? Now, will I be doing Elden Ring every single day? Depends. Depends on how much I'm liking the DLC. Depends on how much you're liking the DLC. I don't want to overload the channel with Elden Ring and then people get bored of it within a week. Keep in mind, this DLC is supposed to be insanely lengthy. They're saying it's basically Limgrave. Now I forgot what they said. They basically said it's the size of 3 parts of the game, but apparently there's like an overworld and underworld too. So it's basically like the size of maybe a little bit, like maybe 40% of real Elden Ring. And if you figure that out, you're like, yeah, it's going to probably be like 30, 40 hours of content then, right? And that's a lot. I mean, if I'm playing 3-hour streams, you know, you're talking, this could take me several weeks to get through. So let's see what happens within the first couple of days of the Elden Ring DLC. If I have good attendance, good support, good engagement, and everyone wants more, I'll keep it as the most played game in my rotation. But if within a couple of days, it's already dwindling and people are burnt out on it, then we'll bring back variety. We can bring back other games to the daytime streams, mix it up, and I'm okay with that. So let's see how it goes. Obviously, initially, I am anticipating a lot of attention, but it doesn't mean that that's going to maintain for 40 straight hours. You know what I mean? So we'll go from there. And then after that, if you can believe it, only a few days after that, the next week, Bison is releasing in Street Fighter 6. So yes, I'm going to be covering Bison. Son of Meatball says Limgrave, Weeping Peninsula, and a bit of Caelid. What is Weeping Peninsula? I don't remember what that is. Limgrave is the entire first section of the game, including the starter area, all the optional stuff to the south, correct? Like the castle and everything, Castle Sol. No, Castle Sol's in the north. The other castle, the optional castle down there, right? And all those other things. So that's a big area, right? And then, see, I don't know what Weeping Peninsula is. What the hell is Weeping Peninsula? That's what I don't know. A bit of Caelid, all right, Caelid's huge, but at the same time, you know, I can see maybe a bit of that. What they also said about the DLC is that it's going to be very condensed, and what I mean by that is, rather than having giant open areas with almost nothing in it, it's going to have a lot of content in the areas that are there. So, no more having to ride around looking for shit to do. There's going to be shit everywhere. Okay? So that's cool. Okay. So anyway. Covered the schedule. Covered all that. All right. It's time to move on. Let's talk about some of the presentations that I have seen. All right. First of all, let's talk about Ubisoft. What was it? Forward? Ubisoft Forward. First of all, the entire presentation was an hour long. It covered a bunch of games, but primarily it really only covered 2 games. I'm going to repeat that. Even though a bunch of games were presented, it actually only really covered 2 games. Star Wars Outlaws and Assassin's Creed Shadows. Everything else was completely rushed through, and you could tell that Ubisoft's focus is only on those 2 games moving forward, and everything else is just kind of, it exists, but it's not a big deal. So Star Wars Outlaws. They showed some gameplay of Star Wars Outlaws, finally. Rather than it just being, like, rushed through, they actually showed a few segments and what it's going to be like. Basically, it's this. You go on a planet. So you're in your ship. You're flying in space. You may have a dogfight or something. Then you fly right onto the planet, which was kind of neat. Rather than it just like, loading and teleport me there, you actually fly your craft onto the planet physically. Then you start exploring a town, and it kind of reminds me of other open world RPG games. You know, you can talk to various different people. You can take on tasks and things. And they even said, depending on who you help, will raise your affinity with one clan, but maybe make another clan pissed off at you because you did something negative towards them. There's different kinds of missions. There's stealth missions where you sneak around and steal things. There's intel missions where you're trying to get intel from various people, maybe from interrogating or actually stealing. There's outright combat stuff. They showed some of that where it's cover-based combat, and you have this feature with you that you can command around to do various things during your creeping around, sneaking, or also during combat to aid you. A lot of explosions. They showed combat as explosions. You could shoot things that blow up and stuff. And basically the way it works is kind of interesting. It kind of works like the systems in like GTA, where the more you do that's illegal, the more infamous you become in a certain area, and you get like a wanted meter. And so the higher the wanted meter, the more the law is out to get you. Now, who's the law in a lot of the galaxy? The Empire. So a lot of the times you're going to have stormtroopers show up looking for you because they've heard that you're in that sector or you've been doing some bad things. I thought that was a really neat thing. Imagine always having the Empire trying to hunt you down like the cops. It could be a good system. That could be pretty unique and interesting. It looked good. However, during the Ubisoft Forward broadcast, there were definitely some choppiness to it. And I don't know if that was the game or the broadcast, but it did look like it was chopping up quite a bit during combat segments. But then there were parts where she was like flying around on the hoverbike thing, and it looked gorgeous. So it's hard to tell exactly what was going on there. I'll say this. It's definitely going to be unique, but I think here's the big question. So the gameplay loop is, you go to a planet, you talk to informants, you get missions. There'll be various different kinds of missions. You perform the missions, you probably get rewarded. Maybe you level up with the factions and stuff like that. This advances the plot a little bit. Maybe unlocks a story mission. I get it. The question is this formula going to be fun in a long-term game? Or is this a formula that the first time you do each certain kind of mission, it's kind of fun, but then it just kind of fizzles out after time? All right. I'll give you an example. Watch Dogs Legion. Okay. It's kind of similar premise. You had one guy who's an expert in driving, one person who controls a drone, one person who's hand-to-hand combat, one person who's stealth. And each time you did one of those missions, you would bring a specialist to do the mission and get through it. And it's fun for like the first 10 hours. But what ends up happening is you hit a wall where you've seen and done everything. And then the entire game is just boring repetition ad nauseum. And it's super boring for the rest of the game. And it just falls flat on its face. I hope that's not what this game will be. I hope that there's going to be enough to it in the story, in the variety of missions, and also the personality and the story and character development of the character that it keeps you engaged. Because if this is just another Ubisoft grind for 40 hours doing repetitive shit game, it's not going to be fun. I mean, it'll be cool that it's set in the Star Wars universe, right? But at the same time, I'm not, with Ubisoft's track record, I'm not convinced. Let's put it that way. Like, everything they've shown looks good. There's nothing from anything they've shown that would be like a red flag that this game is not going to be good, right? Not at all. But I know Ubisoft, and I know they fall into these like tried and true stereotypical ways to design a game. And one of the horrible things they do is they give you interesting stuff at first, but then that's all you do the whole game. And you're just so bored after you're like 10, 15 hours in. Like, dude, I've already done all this shit. Why do I have to do it for another 40 hours? And then we get to the story. You know, it's stupid in that regard. So I hope that's not what happens. I hope it actually is engaging and fun throughout. It has potential to be great, but Ubisoft has squandered a lot of potential. For example, Watch Dogs. That was a franchise that had a lot of potential, and they just mismanaged it, drove it right into the ground, and now who the hell wants another Watch Dogs game, right? So, pretty sad in that regard. I hope that that's not what happens with this. I hope that it actually is good. The other game that they showcased huge was Assassin's Creed Shadows. Man, hold on a second here. It's really annoying me. It helps when you're trying to do a podcast and you don't have a frog in your throat that's really bothering you. Okay. So, Assassin's Creed Shadows finally fully showcased. All right. They showed gameplay of both characters, both the shinobi, whose name I keep forgetting, and of course the samurai Yasuke. All right. Right off the bat, big disappointment. This game absolutely, positively 100% is set in the exact same engine as the open world Assassin's Creed games. So, Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla, it's exactly the same engine. Have they made variations? Yes, they have. If you're playing as Yasuke, it's going to be more like playing Valhalla or Odyssey, where you're going around and enemies are seeking you out, or you're seeking out enemies. You have open combat in the streets. There's going to be different kinds depending on the weapon you have equipped. Like they first show Yasuke with a big spiked club, and it's more slow-paced, big arcing swings. Then he switches to the sword, and that combat seems very similar to, say, like Ghost of Tsushima, where you're going to be do timed parries and moves like that, and then counter slashing your opponents. Whenever you kill an enemy in this game, the screen immediately turns white and has this weird ink art style that's very reminiscent of things with samurai and stuff like that set in Japan. All right. So first they show Yasuke basically just open killing people in the streets. All right. Then they switch to the shinobi, and the woman basically is stealth. Although admittedly, again, it's not what you would want. It doesn't play like classic Assassin's Creed. She definitely has crazy flippy moves and weird shit. You're like, yeah, I remember back in the day when Ezio did like a double, triple flip, aerial, crazy assassination, crazy ability, throwing a million things. Like, no, it didn't happen, Back then it was supposed to be do stealthy parkour, kill your enemy, get the hell out of there. And it doesn't look like that's what this is. It looks like they're really going like over the top with this ninja shit. So it is what it is. I will say this. The voice actor for the woman, the female character, forgive me because I forgot her name, seems like she's completely coached to sound disengaged. Like she's like, it will be me and the shadows. Okay, I'm going to go do this now. You don't have to come with me because I am more equipped for this mission, being that I can use the shadows to my advantage. I was like, is she just reading this off a piece of paper? Is this like a cold read? What is this? Is the voice acting of the game? She sounds so bored. And I mean, I hate to say it, but there are voice actors who are bad. But I think what it is the direction. Like the director is an idiot. He's saying, oh, let's make her sound cold. Okay, so now I must use the shadows to stop the evil samurai in the town. They have been treating the people badly, and now we must make sure that they are taken out of... Like, what? Can you use any inflection in your voice? Here, I'll do it better. I will use the power of the shadows to overcome our enemies. You must use stealth because they are stronger than us, but we have the tools to win. See? A little inflection goes a long way. What the hell? Why couldn't you tell a professional voice actor to act it like that? And this is going to be one of the two characters you have to hear the whole game. Right? So anyway, basically for me, it's a mixed bag. Like, here's the deal. Will the game be absolutely god-awful terrible? Probably not. But if it's going to follow the formula of the open world Ubisoft games, what's going to end up happening is the game's going to feel like a chore. Do you remember Valhalla? Dude, Valhalla was the most drawn out, overbearing game. Okay, go to a region. Okay, let's just do the questing for the story. No. First, you must befriend these people. You must do 17 side missions for them. Then they're like you. Then you complete their quest line, which takes 15 hours. And then they say they're going to help you later in the game. Oh, okay. So now can we advance the plot? No, you got to go to this other area and do the same thing with another group of people. But what the fuck does that have to do with anything? Nothing. You're just killing time until you finally get back to the plot. What is this shit? I want to do this for fucking 100 hours. And it was. Like, Assassin's Creed Valhalla was like 80 plus hours because it just wasted your time so much. If it is that formula, it's likely going to end up being more of the same. Where, you're going to be beating around the bush, killing time rather than focusing on main objectives and things that are more interesting. And again, it's the Ubisoft problem. They're more over quantity over quality. They don't understand that if you made a 20-hour game that was amazing, people would remember it and like it more than an 80-hour game where for at least half of that you're scratching your ass because you're so fucking bored and can't wait for it to get back to something interesting. They just don't get it. But then these game devs complain about the budget's too big and it takes too long to make a game to turn a profit. Well, then stop making bloated games. I mean, this is a huge problem with Ubisoft in particular. So, Star Wars Outlaws looks like it could be good. I am getting excited for it. I like the Star Wars universe, but at the same time, yes, I am a little nervous that it's going to end up being not so fun after, say, like 10 hours. With Assassin's Creed Shadows, I'll be honest, being that we know now that it's 100% set in the engine of the RPG style rather than the stealth style, I'm not feeling too great about it. All right, but there is one redeeming quality, one shining factor, one great thing about all of this that we all need to remember. Are you ready? You don't have to buy any of their games. If you want to play these games and test them, but you don't want to drop a whole bunch of money, you can become an Ubisoft Plus subscriber for a month. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to renew my Ubisoft Plus subscription for the month of August. And then with that, I'm just going to play Star Wars Outlaws. And that's it. It's what, $15? You don't have to spend $70 plus tax to play Ubisoft games ever. Oh, and by the way, when you're an Ubisoft Plus subscriber, you get to play the games early. They usually give you like a few days early access to the game. Why on earth would anyone buy one of these games? Really, can anyone answer that question? There's literally no reason whatsoever to buy an Ubisoft game at this point. Just spend the $15, play the game, and hey, if you don't beat it in the month and you got to renew for another month, all right, well then $30 instead of $70 plus tax. See what I'm saying? And by the way, Ubisoft does have a giant catalog of games. So along the way, if you play, say, Star Wars Outlaws or Assassin's Creed Shadows, and you're like, oh, I don't like it, you can still check out a whole bunch of other games that they have, and maybe you'll still get some value out of that month you have with the subscription, right? I don't see the reason to buy the game at all. Why would you? Unless you love the series so much, you know you're going to go back to it again and again and again. I don't see a reason to buy these games, right? So that's what I recommend. That's what I'll be doing. I will be playing both games, and I'll only get them through the subscription. And hey, if I get it and it sucks, we don't have to keep playing it. Fuck it. I only paid $15 for it. Who cares, right? It's a lot different than investing almost $80 in a game and saying, well, now we're kind of committed to playing it, right? So there you go. That's what I recommend. So hey, yeah, please keep offering us these subscription services so that I can just play for 1 month and pay like 1/4 or 1/5 of what I would have paid. I appreciate that. Okay. Outside of that, basically Ubisoft Forward was just a ridiculous amount of updates on their existing games. Skull and Bones will get a new season. Oh boy, because everyone's still playing that one, right? For Honor, which is like 8 years later after its launch, is still getting content, which is wild that people are still liking and supporting the game, but apparently they are. Apparently there's a community for it, and that's cool, I guess. You know, every Ubisoft game, the crew and blah, 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 all getting updates. The one thing, I'm serious about this, I know you're going to laugh about this. So out of all that shit, the one game that stood out for my wife and I, Monopoly. They're making a new Monopoly game that has modernized, good graphics, 6 players. The one thing they didn't explain, if it's online play. All they said is 6-player Monopoly, and it showed, like, you know, huge 3D rendered city and all this stuff. And I was like, dude, we're waiting for a good version of Monopoly like fucking forever. There hasn't been one. And I'm like, wow, you could actually play Monopoly, and that'd be neat. But is it online? Like, can you play with other people online, or is it only local? Because if it's only local, it kind of sucks, right? So, excuse me. It's actually coming out this year, but it didn't say when. It just says coming this year, like this fall or something like that. So, anyway, so that's Ubisoft Forward. Woohoo. Okay? Now, the Dragon Age, the Veilguard gameplay reveal, all right, I will say this, did actually disperse some of the ridiculous feelings and vibes that you got from the announcement trailer that took place during the Xbox event. Or was it Summer Game Fest? I can't remember if it was during Xbox or Summer Game Fest that happened. But basically, when they first announced Dragon Age the Veilguard, all right, the graphics looked way more cartoony, almost like a Fortnite or Overwatch-esque look to them. And the way that they introduced the game is that it basically looked like comedy. Like they were trying to turn Dragon Age into like Guardians of the Galaxy, like a comedic Marvel movie, right? All these characters are being introduced, but then they have these little quips and things that they say. And it just didn't seem to hit the vibe of what Dragon Age is. Dragon Age is a very serious, adult, gory, plotline style game. And the fact that the introduction to the game's, stuff in this trailer was more comedic didn't seem to make sense. Like, are they changing this vibe, right? Well, I'm at least pleased to say that with what the 20 plus gameplay minutes that they showed, it looks way more like Dragon Age than you would think. Like, they're talking, and they're talking more seriously. Stuff's all hell's breaking loose. Demons are invading this town, and they're trying to run up and stop a ritual that's being performed by Solus, who was your teammate in Dragon Age Inquisition, but now he's actually supposedly one of the villains of this game. Because it's been revealed. I guess in one of the DLCs, it was revealed that he's actually like an elven god, and he never told you that. He just concealed his identity during Dragon Age Inquisition. So they start the combat, and I hate to say it, I think this was probably a hugely bad representation of what the game will be, because the class for the character that's being played in this demo of gameplay is essentially like a warrior class. So all he's doing, he runs up, hack slash, hack slash, hack slash combo, special ability, throw some lightning out, hack slash, hack slash, hack slash. It's like boring, and I'm like, yeah, you know why? Because this is probably very early game. This is probably before you even get many or any abilities, right? So it's very insanely basic. And of course, the warrior, or was it rogue? People are saying it was rogue. Of course, this is going to be like the most basic style gameplay. If they had picked a different class, right, that had more complexities to its gameplay, maybe at least you would have got a better handle. I would have much rather seen like a magic class. How would that be handled in the game? Rather than slash, 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 dodge, slash, 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 use a special ability, slash, 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 slash. Oh, that's the combat, right? I was like, oh, that's not impressive. But again, it's early game. So I get their desire to not spoil. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get their desire. They don't want the game to be spoiled, right? But at the very same time, man, it's like, it looks generic at first. I hope that it gets better. I wish that they had actually shown something more representative of later in the game. It didn't even have to be a plot element. It could have just been they're walking around the open world and fighting random enemies halfway into the game. And this is showcasing, the different kinds of combat. Maybe they're just so afraid because maybe there's certain characters that return and stuff that would really spoil the game. I don't know. But does it look like Dragon Age and seem like Dragon Age style? Yeah, it does. I would say it does. I would say they modernized the announcement trailer to make it look like something it's not, to basically appeal to newer gamers, Gen Zers, right? They wanted a new generation of gamer to be open to buying Dragon Age the Veilguard, because hell, it's been, almost a decade since the last one came out, so a lot of gamers don't even know what the fuck Dragon Age is, right? So they're trying to reintroduce it in a way that really doesn't make sense, because that wasn't really representative of what the game was once you actually start playing it, right? So I would say it looks good. I don't know. Again, is it going to be too generic hack and slashy if you pick a melee class? Maybe you don't want to pick a melee class. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll purposefully do like a magician or something to make it a little different, right? But basically, it looks decent. So now I was a little upset with the announcement trailer, wondering what was going to happen. Now that I've seen the 20 plus minutes of gameplay, I'm not as worried anymore. I will say this, the graphics were very nice. I liked the graphics, but that gameplay just didn't look very good. But maybe that's because it's early in the game. When you have like one ability and just slashing, there's not much you could really showcase in the game yet. This is supposed to be like the intro segment of the game regardless. So there you go. All right, so out of everything I saw Ubisoft forward, probably the things that I'm more interested in is Star Wars Outlaws and Monopoly, of all things. AC Shadows, I don't think will be very good, but at the same time, it's going to be $15, so why not? In regards to Dragon Age, I feel better about it now. It looks better to me now. So I'm feeling more hopeful about it. And I'm glad that it's not going to be representative of what was shown in the announcement trailer. But still no release date. Yeah, they still didn't put a release date in there. It says fall. That's all you know, fall. No date yet, so I guess we just got to keep listening. All right? All right. In one interesting piece of news for today, in regards to Elden Ring, okay, as I stated previously, Okay. So the Elden Ring DLC comes out on the 21st. Okay, so that is 9 days from today. And to access the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC, you need to get to the true Moog boss fight and beat him, right? What's he called? Like the Monarch of Blood or something like that? I don't remember what his actual name is in the game. But you have to defeat him, and he is arguably the second or third hardest boss in the game, right? I mean, there's definitely ways to cheese him, but considering the fact that he has multiple forms, and in one of his forms, he gets like all his health back, and he takes all your health away, he is one of the hardest bosses to fight in the game. So, with the DLC right around the corner, everyone hyped for the DLC and talking about it, it begs the question, out of all the people who purchased Elden Ring and played it, how many people actually killed Moog and are going to actually have access to this DLC when it comes out in 9 days? Now, excuse me, when Elden Ring first came out, if you remember, basically everyone bought it. It went super mainstream. Everyone talked about it. Everyone said, oh, you can play it. It's accessible. Is Elden Ring accessible? Only if you summon constantly. If you suck at these games and never played them before, and you don't summon Ash summons constantly to basically distract all the enemies, the game's not accessible. It's very hard, okay? And also, you just have no idea where the hell you're supposed to go without a guide. You need to use a guide to basically figure it out, because the game is a giant, confusing maze, essentially, all right? But is it accessible if you summon constantly? Yes, it is, all right? And it's funny, because when the game came out, it broke records for sales at the time. And everyone was like, oh, so everyone's enjoying it. I was like, yeah, but you know what would I really like to see? Tell me the actual percentage of people who bought Elden Ring and beat it. Because that's the statistic you want. You don't want, I bought the game and I casually played it for like a few sessions and then I just gave up because it's too hard. You want to know how many people actually went through and completed the game, you know, over time. And some people maybe didn't beat it for a while, and that's okay as long as they eventually got to the end, right? So, there's a statistic for that, but that's not the statistic we're looking at today, all right? What I'm interested in is the statistic for this Shadow of the Erdtree DLC, because you've got a lot of people out there who, again, they're like, wow, Elden Ring, it's in the news again, it's hype, it's mainstream popular again, everyone's excited for it, right? Everyone's excited for that shit, cannot wait to play it, but this DLC has a skill check. You have to have found and defeated the true Moog boss. And this is one of the harder parts of the game. It's a secret area. You had to have beaten Radahn first to even unlock the way to get to this. Then once you get there, the blood area is one of the hardest in the game, right? It really is. It's tough. You gotta get through this lake of blood with all these fucking albinoric monsters and crazy shit going around. Then you gotta get through that cave with all the blood dudes coming at you and everything. So it's no easy task to even get to the Moog boss fight, and then you got to beat it, right? So the question is, how many people have done it? Well, here's the statistics. I have them for you. They're absolutely hilarious. On Steam, PC version, 37.8% of people have actually beaten Moog. Just over a third. So just think about that. Out of everyone who purchased the game, all the record sales numbers, only a third of them will even be able to play the DLC at launch unless they get their asses in gear, start playing the game right now, and get their butts to Moog and beat him in the next week. Now, how many people who aren't good at Elden Ring, they gave up on it or just beat the base game, do you really think realistically are going to jump back into the game after not playing it for an extended period of time, master it to get to the secret area, right? Skill check at Radahn, skill check to get through all that shit to get to the Blood Palace, and then are actually going to fight Moog in the Blood Palace, right? But that's only on PC. On the PlayStation, only 34.7% of people who bought the game have beaten Moog. So even less. And then to just hammer this point home, okay? On Xbox, which arguably probably has the least sales of all three platforms, only 17.7% of people who own Elden Ring on Xbox have actually beaten Moog. Wow. Less than 1/5 of the people who bought the game even bothered with it. So, what I said 2 years ago, all right, a lot of people gave me shit for. But now I'm going to bring it up again in 2024. Ladies and gentlemen, the vast majority of people who bought Elden Ring never played it to completion. They bought it. They casually played it because it was virally popular for a few weeks. They memed about it. Then they found something that was hard and they stopped playing it. No one really who is not a Soulsborne fan bought this game, got immersed in it, absorbed in the world, learned the mechanics, got good, went through the game, dominating it, and beat it. No, they didn't do that. It's a memeable game because everyone bought it, but almost no one beat it. You know, I'm sorry. Or if they did, they didn't learn the game. They didn't master it. They just summoned the whole game. They probably used an online guide that someone wrote, beginner's guide to beating the game, rushed to the Mimic tier, got the Mimic tier, summon, and the Mimic tier just whooped the game's ass while they stood around, right? And even then probably had a hard time. So, the way I see it, I get it, why it was so popular. It's the first FromSoft game to really hit that mainstream. But now that we're seeing the first DLC available, and the fact that FromSoft hasn't changed their ways, they didn't say, oh yeah, you could just do this DLC from the title screen. Like, no, skill check. You got to find an optional boss in one of the hardest hidden areas of the game, and you got to beat him. That's going to shut out a lot of people. So now people are realizing they're going to have to get good in order to actually play the DLC, and they're going to start freaking out. Oh, I want to play it, but man, I don't want to fucking invest that amount of time and shit. You right? That's how it's going to go. I wonder how many people are not paying attention. They're going to buy this DLC, boot the game, and not be able to play it and be like, what the fuck? I just spent $30 and I can't play the DLC. This is bullshit. Actually, isn't it $40? Isn't it like $39.99? So, oh no, see, Dapian says, I doubt any of the people that didn't beat Moog would want the DLC. Wrong. Because again, here's what's going to happen. In another week, it's going to go viral again. Everyone is mainstream going to be talking about Elden Ring again. You're going to see memes again. Everything's going to hit the internet. And all those people are going to want to jump on that bandwagon again. Because that's what they do. These are bandwagoner gamers. They jump on every viral trend. Oh my God, Among Us. Oh my God, Pal World. Oh my God, Helldivers. Oh my God, fucking this one, that one, right? They always jump on it. But that's what they do. They jump on the trend for a few weeks, they play it, and then they fucking drop it and never play it again. So that's how they are. I guarantee you this is what's going to happen is, oh, Shadow of the Erdtree's out. Oh, man, yo, it's hype again. I got to play it again. They buy $40. They boot it up. What the fuck? Where is it? What's this? What? So they're going to get a swift taste of reality, I feel, as they realize that FromSoft basically is not merely making games for them. You know what I'm saying? So, all right. Folks, that's what I got for today's podcast. We covered a lot. Now I open it up to interaction, Q&A, and the like. I normally would say, okay, it's time for shout-outs. Literally, I have absolutely no contributions so far today. So I have nothing to shout out. Now, you guys know the deal. When I stream, most of my income comes from streaming. So if you could support my stream today, I would really appreciate it. Super chats, super stickers, memberships, gifted memberships, and tips are all appreciated. My goal is to hit $50 in tips by the end of any given stream. And of course, we haven't even started with gameplay yet. But, you know, please, in advance, if you like the content, please support it. Thank you in advance. All right? And there you have it. So, I guess what I will do now, I will open this up and let people talk and interact. If you want to tag me in the chat and bring up any subjects, if anyone contributes, I will shout it out. There you go. Can I do a new room tour, please? No, there's nothing to tour. My room is the same as it's been. I haven't changed anything besides the visuals. It's the same room. There's nothing to show. I wouldn't even have the ability to do a room tour because I don't have a handheld camera anymore. So no. High's Darkness says, I want to save you money. Don't buy Dragon Age Woke Guard. I'm telling you it's going to flop. Well, we'll see. Tyrone says, I wish you would give Multiversus another chance. I was hyped to watch you climb to Master on Ranked. Well, first of all, there is no Ranked. They didn't launch it yet. Number two, if you guys aren't aware, I've been following the game, and essentially, since it came out, I hate to say it, people aren't really liking it that much. Not as much as the beta. People are disappointed with what the game is in its released full form. People have already discovered insane game-breaking problems, like Iron Giant had a fucking throw loop infinite. Like, a throw loop infinite is something that existed in fighting games in the early 90s, and then eventually they fixed that shit so that no game would ever have one. And the fact that this is supposed to be a fighting game, a serious fighting game, and it has a throw loop, that's really bad. Like, a throw loop infinite no one can break out of. So they had to take Iron Giant off, like, turn him off, because people were just breaking the game and getting wins, instant wins every match. So, excuse me. Yeah, what can I say? It's just not doing that well. I was liking it, but it didn't resonate with the audience. I played it 2 streams, and people were telling me it's boring, stop playing, so I did. You know, if ever a desire comes back for it, or an update or something, I would check it out. I was enjoying learning characters, but I'm going to do what my audience wants. So, we're going to continue with what we're doing right now. Oh, let's see here. Carlton Jr. says, I salute FromSoft for not caving to hype bots and milking the cash cow because they could have when Elden Ring blew up. I don't think it's in their blood. I think they're very different as a game dev, what they do, you know. Let's see. Matt did a $2 super chat. Says, sorry for stealing. Here's $2. Matt, what did you steal? Are you fessing up to a crime right now? What did you steal? My car better still be in my garage, Matt. I'm going to be pretty upset with you if you sent me $2 Canadian super chat and I go to my garage and my car is missing. You're going to be in big problems, my friend. All right? Okay. He's the one who stole the tire a year ago? Oh, wow. Well, there's some lore for you. Daxma says you mentioned a Final Fantasy 6 pixel walkthrough a while back. Is that still on the table? That's always on the table. I own the collection. I own the Final Fantasy 7 pixel remaster collection. Or, not Final Fantasy 7, the Final Fantasy pixel remaster collection, which is 1 through 6. It's always a possibility. I would love to do it. I don't know when we would do it yet. I mean, it's the best time would probably be over the summer, but you know, I'm not really in the cards right now with the stuff that I've got coming up. Grim Ripper, you're a little late. I literally just did an entire segment talking about the gameplay of Dragon Age. You missed it. Rewind this podcast and you'll see I talked about it. Thoughts on the new World of Warcraft trailer they dropped? I don't... Blazing Shaman or Shaman, I forget how to pronounce it. I think it's Shaman. I have not actively played World of Warcraft since the mid-2000s. I am nearly 20 years outdated on any knowledge of World of Warcraft. So I can't comment on it. Maybe it's really good. Maybe it's not. I have no clue. I can't really say because I'm not in the know on that game anymore. Iron Man the Power says he's almost done with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth on Chapter 11, getting closer to the end. How long have you played? I'm just curious how long the game is for you. Hanzo Kamaru says, the Dragon Age demo looked really cool, but I gravitate towards melee classes. I love that menu slowdown thing, so cool. Dapian says, thoughts on Bison being more a motion character now instead of charge? I don't know. I haven't looked into it at all. I haven't looked at it once. I don't, you know, I saw the announcement thing like everyone else did, but I don't dive. This is the difference between me and the FGC. This is why I keep telling you guys I am not part of the FGC, okay? The FGC, the moment that any information about a character drops, they micro-analyze each frame and piece. Look, this looks like this. Maybe it combos like this. Maybe it activates like this. Could it be like this? Could it be like this? And then the moment that they can get more information, oh my God, did you hear that all his moves are motions now? No longer a charge character, blah, blah, blah. That's not me. It's not me. For me, like, okay, I saw the Bison announcement. I'll get him and play with him when he comes out. I don't sit there and micro-analyze shit. I don't have time for it, right? I'm doing so much other shit. I just don't have time, you know, to do that. I know for a fact that Capcom hand-fucking selected gamers and content creators to play with Bison early. Deal with that as you feel, because again, I've always been against that. Oh, the select golden few get the nice privilege and the head start, and everyone else has to play fucking catch up. I hate that. I think that should never be done. But hey, this is how they do marketing now, right? They just The rich get richer and everyone else gets fucked, but that's okay as long as Capcom makes more money, right? So it is what it is. But I don't give a shit. I'll play him when he comes out, and I'll figure it out then, and I'll tell you if I like him or not when I play with him. Okay? It's that simple. Bison had some motion moves in various different games over the years. In CVS, he had some motion moves, actually. And then they kind of changed it, retconned it, but then they went back again. You know, I wonder. I'm curious exactly how it's going to work. I am. I guess we'll have to see. Do I feel the increased skill-based matchmaking ruined Call of Duty or improved it? You know, I don't know, because for me, my problem wasn't the quality of the match. It was the connection. Like, why is it that I would play 1 or 2 matches of Call of Duty and I would do really well and have fun? Then I get to the 3rd match and literally the match is playing like underwater. Everything I do is ultra delayed. My bullets don't have any fucking hit detection. They don't hit at all. It's like, why am I playing this third fucking thing? Why am I even playing the 3rd match? If that's the case, and if that's because of skill-based matchmaking, yeah, that's insanely stupid. It means they don't fucking test it to see that the experience with that is so bad that they should never do it. You're ruining the gamer's ongoing experience, right? To do that. Now, we watched a video on my React show, excuse me, regarding this, and essentially what that video said was that it's done on purpose. They want you to always feel like you have to be grinding. They don't want you to feel ultra dominant if you're good, because then it feels like you're on top and you don't have to work or play. You just go in casually whenever you want and dominate and stomp people. But by doing that, by throwing you into matches where the connections are worse or it's harder to play, they even said there may even be software integrated into the multiplayer that, yeah, after you get like 2 or 3 wins in a row, all of a sudden your hit detection's off and you are less accurate for no reason, and the opponents would be more accurate than you for no reason, and so you kind of get trounced, and I was like, okay, see, I got put in my place, time to get back on that grind. You'll play more of the game. I think that's insanely stupid, if it's true. I mean, I don't know if we have any actual, you know, definitive evidence of that, but it's what a lot of that community is guessing is really happening with those games. What I'm curious about now, on my consoles, I'm going to have 120 hertz, variable refresh rate. I don't know if I'm going to be able to play them at 4K, but I know at least at 1080p, I'm going to be playing this with blazing fast inputs, right? So with that in mind, am I going to play better in Call of Duty? Will my experience overall be better? Maybe those skill-based matchmaking matches won't matter as much if I'm eliminating all of the input lag on my end, which I'm doing with Street Fighter. I don't know. We won't know until try it, right? So I guess we'll find out. Excuse me. Sorry, I just murdered Mario. I burped right in his face. But I needed to do that, and I want to do that away from the microphone. That was disgusting. Okay. Let's see here. I received a $5 tip. First tip of the day from the Mysterious Stranger Guitar Riff Plays. Thank you very much, Mysterious Stranger, for getting the tipping going today. I really do appreciate you being the first contributor in that way. I appreciate all support, and this helps a lot right now to get it going, so thank you for that. Thank you. Dab Hands is under the impression input delay will not matter as much because it's about server connections. Again, I don't know. We'll have to see. I've always been playing with the default. Shoot! I've always been playing with the default settings. I never really tweaked anything. So maybe this time around, now that I will have the better response time, the better refresh rates, all of that, maybe there'll be a factor, maybe it won't. I have no idea. Well, we won't know till the game comes out in October, right? Well, actually, we may know earlier than that, because since it's on Game Pass, I get early access to whenever they do the beta, and I'll be able to play the beta and test it then. So there you go. Maybe I'll know sooner rather than later. It depends on when they do that beta, right? Boy. Shia, how are you? Welcome to the stream. Happy Wednesday to you as well. We have about roughly 15 minutes or so, guys, of time to kill. So please continue to tag me in the chat. And again, if any contributions come in, I will shout them out. Why don't I count super chats Why don't I count super chats towards a tips total? It seems disingenuous because super chats are not tips. Super chats are contributions through a system on YouTube. Tips are contributions through a PayPal. They're completely different things. They're even categorized differently when it comes to types of income and stuff. It is actually broken out in my taxes and stuff. It's qualified as different types of income and things like that. And I have goals as rewards for tips, but not for super chats. That's why. Tips help me immediately in the short term. If you tip me today, I can literally use this money to buy groceries tomorrow. If you super chat, that also helps, but that's long term. I don't see that for like another month or two, depending on YouTube processing time and what time of the month it is. So that's the difference. Since you're giving me immediate support, I give you immediate rewards for it. You see? That's how it works. Eyes Darkness, I don't know what you mean. He says, I think if there's a huge backlash to DEI and woke agendas in gaming, would it benefit or hurt me? I don't even know what you're talking about. Why would it benefit or hurt me? In either way, I don't make the games. How would it? I'm not selling the games nor making the games, so I don't know how it would benefit or hurt me. You know me, I'm honest, so whatever game I play, I'm going to call stuff out when I see it, right? If I feel that there's heavy-handed politicizing of topics in a game, I'll call it out. As I told you, I don't want politics in my video games. There's far enough politics in real life all over the fucking place that I don't need politics in my video games. So if I see it, I'll call it out. But does it benefit me or hurt me if they're in there? I don't think so either way. I don't see why it would. Okay, I'm back after blowing my nose. Let's continue here. Parasolos is a lot of people hold MVC 2, that's Marvel vs. Capcom 2, in the highest regard. Are you on the same boat, or do you have a different favorite crossover fighting game? When it comes to the overall competitive nature, high-end skill requirements, and overall just really enjoyable to watch gameplay, MVC 2 is it. There's other games in the Versus series that are quite fun. X-Men versus Street Fighter started the craze, and that game is super fun. Super duper fun. Great cast, a good variety, but at the same time, every character has a crazy, wild, infinites, juggles, and weird things that you know the game devs didn't intend, but people discovered over time. And I love that game, even though it really isn't. Like, in tournaments, it's not ultra fun, because literally it's like, get one move, and you could lose. Like, you can do a throw into the corner with Cyclops, and if they don't tech the throw, you get a free combo that's an infinite, and you just kill the character. And that's like every character can do that. Every character gets like one hit, giant corner combo, game over. So, it's fun, but is it competitive? You know, Marvel vs. Capcom 1 I loved, but it's definitely an unbalanced game. Strider Hiryu is hands down the best character in the game and basically unbeatable at a high level. But it's fun to do the crossover attacks. It's fun to see people use like a mid or low tier character and get like a few hits in on a high tier, just kick their ass. And it really was the first game with like the zaniness factor to it. With like insanely giant flashy supers and moves and things. But MVC2 just has it all. The problem is a lot of people don't realize that like 80% of the cast is trash. You know, the game has like an insane amount of characters, but only like 12 of them are tournament worthy, and the rest of them all suck when it comes to competition. Luckily, most people don't care about that, right? Still, MVC2 is definitely the best versus game, for sure, yes. And by the way, that definitely goes for MVC3. MVC2 is way better than MVC3. It just is. Am I excited for Elden Ring or just happy people will show up for it? Both. Like, listen, I'm happy that I know I'm going to be playing a game that a significant amount of people will be showing up and enjoying. Because what I've been doing with this downtime stuff, I'm trying to appease certain people, but you can't please everyone all the time unless it's a giant release everyone wants, right? And the thing is, I've already said it this year, there have been very few giant AAA releases that have been great, resonated with everyone, and everyone wants to see. Instead, it's like this little audience over here wants this one, this little audience over here wants this one, this niche group, and you just get this split audience. At the time when I'm playing a new game, people are like, nah, I'll be back when he's done with this one, right? But with Elden Ring, I will likely get a big crowd, and that's good. And then in addition to that, Elden Ring is great, you know? I just played my second run, the Magic run, finished it up, had a great time, even legitimately beat Melania in only about 2 hours, which was awesome to learn her patterns and be able to learn and beat her like that. Had a great time with it, so I'm looking forward to the DLC. You know, I'm legit looking forward to it, and the fact that probably more people will actually show up is a great, you know, boon as well. It'll be everything positive, right? Okay. All right, anything else, guys? What's my favorite knockoff soda? I used to like, was it RC Cola? Or was it, no, there was another one. There was a cola that obviously was like a knockoff of like Coke or something, but I actually liked the flavor a lot. But I can't remember which one it was. My great aunt used to get it all the time. It might have been RC Cola. Can't remember. Daxpa says, that's my argument against you going into politics content. You're guaranteed to fracture the audience. If a game genre does that, I can't imagine left and right stuff. Yeah, I mean, that's how I'm sorry to say this, but it just seems to me that in today's world, a lot of people are of a very underdeveloped, immature mindset. And that mindset is this. Either you're with me or you're against me. It's my way or the highway. I'm right, you're wrong. And if you don't agree with me, you are my enemy. That's insane. If you go through life that you only want to be talking to like-minded people, number one, life will be incredibly boring. Just, you know, surround yourself with people who only agree with you. You're going to be so bored. You're not going to have enough of variety of things in your life to keep you having fun and occupied, quite frankly. That's number one. Number two, you will be hard-pressed to find people who are going to agree with you on everything, right? And, for example, you and I, right now, may have a lot of cool common interests on games, but perhaps politically, we vary greatly, and that's okay. We can agree to disagree, but still like the things we like together, right? But there's some people who are like, no, if you don't agree with me on the politics thing, then I just can't pay attention to you in anything. Like, wait, what? But you'll like the game content I put out. You enjoy the way I cover games. You like my commentary. We have a good time hanging out when I play games. But then we start talking politics. Oh, I disagree. Sorry. Goodbye. Can't talk to you anymore. See you later. See you in the next life. And how dumb is that? Right? How dumb is that? And listen, I understand if, like, there's someone out there who is saying something so effing offensive. Like, death to a certain group of people because I don't like them. Okay, I get that. That's ridiculous, over the top. That's harmful. That's straight up harmful, right? But in general, just to have a disagreement about something is really silly. To have the disagreement and then, oh, now I'm going to hate on someone and not ever want to watch their shit ever again. You know what I'm saying? That's wild to me. And I would never think that way. Now that I'm older and I've become more mature, I've learned to try to walk in other shoes. Even if at first I don't understand their perspective. And I feel it's horribly wrong. All right? I have to listen to what other people have to say and try to understand from where they're coming from. Because you might still think their perspective is wrong, but at least if you try to think from where they're coming from, why they're thinking that way, maybe you can at least kind of get it. Right? You could sympathize with that feeling of why they're feeling that way, right? So that's, for me, that's been a big thing, a piece of growth for me in the last decade, I would say, that I've tried to change myself for the better in that regard. Because I did used to be that kind of stubborn, obstinate, pig-headed, won't listen, no input, no criticism of any kind. Constructive, destructive, none. Don't take any of it. None of it. It's all bullshit. I know better than you. Listen to me. And if you don't disagree with me, I say, fuck you. I don't ever want to talk to you ever again. That's how I used to be. But I've changed a lot, and I'm happy that I've changed a lot. I would much rather hear a variety of perspectives, listen to people of other places in life that I'm not in, other cultures, other perspectives, other things, other political stances. I want to hear it all, so that helps me to become a better person and to have a more informed opinion on something, you see? So I hear you. It's so sad that there are people that are just, no, that's what I believe, and if you don't believe it, too bad, so sad, never want to talk to you again. Like, what? That is so close-minded. And you will have a life that, I hate to say it, is very isolated, miserable, and not informed if you're going to have that kind of mindset for the rest of your life. I can understand if you're younger and you don't get it yet, but as you get older, you got to get wiser. You got to listen to people who are telling you, listen, that's not the way to be. I know, I used to be there. That's not the way to be in life anymore, you know? You got to start listening to other people. Okay. What is the difference in you having reservations, but still some people hope for Dragon Age Veilguard based off of what you've seen, versus you writing off the new Doom immediately? I played the other Doom and I didn't like it. I played Doom Eternal. I gave Doom Eternal a chance. I said, okay, it looks a little different, but I'm going to give it a shot based off Doom 2016, and I didn't like it. So now the next one's just going to advance that even further of what I didn't like, because you could tell they're pushing even further in that direction. With Veilguard, we don't know yet. We didn't play it yet. It's been 9-10 years since the last one, right? That's the difference. Pretty simple. No, I'm not playing Dragon Age Origins before Veilguard. That's not happening. Like Kratos from God of War, I got wiser over the years. I mean, that's an interesting comparison. I mean, most people you would hope get wiser over the years. Sadly, I think a lot of people don't. A lot of people just stay in this, like, dumb, immature mindset their whole life. And they go through life not self-conscious, not thinking big picture things, just going through life to exist, right? But for me, yeah, I have very much worked to become a better person in the last decade and become smarter and wiser. Yes, I indeed, Double J. You've spilled the beans. I'll be on the Joe Rogan podcast later this week. Absolutely. It's happening. Sure it is. Game Boy, how are you doing? Welcome to the stream. Earliest gaming memory? I think my earliest gaming memory is being over my uncle's house and going into his den. And in his den, he had his PC set up. And the first video game I ever saw, he was doing a flight simulator game. And I was like, wow, what the heck is that? Because I had never seen any video game before. I saw him playing Flight Simulator, and I was like, whoa, what is that? You know? I don't think it was Microsoft Flight Simulator. I think it was some PC flight simulator from like the mid-'80s. So it was incredibly primitive graphics. But he had like a high-end PC for that back then. So he showed it to me. I was like, whoa, blown away at what it was. And then eventually he gave me his Atari 7800 and a bunch of games to play at home. Teamed Mudcrab, yes, I keep my laptop plugged into a charger 24/7. It's plugged into the wall constantly. Does it cause any damage to the battery? I wouldn't know because I never use the battery. My laptop is literally just sits here in the office 24/7 used for work. I never move it. No lie, I've never moved it. So I have no clue, nor would I ever need to know. Was Dead or Alive appealing to me like Street Fighter? Back in the day, I gave every fighting game a chance. I really did. I mean, I played all of them. I played Time Killers, Fighter's History, Primal Rage. You know, all the ones that now today we know are kind of like knockoff shitty games. But I played War Gods. What was the other one? Something about like Cosmic Carnage or something like that. I played all of them when they were in arcades, okay? And Dead or Alive, when it first came out, was actually very flashy for a 3D game because it ran at beautiful 60 frames per second, as opposed to some of the other ones were a lot more choppy at the time. And I believe the graphics were better than the other two. Like, there already had been Tekken and Virtua Fighter, and Dead or Alive looked better, but the gameplay was so simplistic. It's rock, paper, scissors, right? It's punch, kick, throw, and then there's a parry or guard. And basically you just, everything counters everything in a circle. So it was a way more simplistic game to play. And I remember people played it, but it never caught on. In my arcades, it was always Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Killer Instinct, and Tekken. Those were the big four. Virtua Fighter never caught on. Dead or Alive never caught on. There was a few others that for some time had some popularity, like Rival Schools for a bit had some popularity there as an earlier 3D game. The Street Fighter EX series for a while. And then after a while, it was just the versus games. Like, those are the only ones that got attention. It had to be a versus game. You know, X-Men versus Street Fighter, Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom 1 and 2. Those are the big ones. Grim Ripper says his gaming memory is the very first Zelda game. It's a good one to have as your first memory. Yep, Samurai Showdown was there. We had many of them. I don't think we had everyone. We had like 1, 2, 3, and maybe 4. But then that's where they stopped. We never had any after that. Yeah. Virtua Fighter literally started the 3D fighter craze, but through it being so complex and difficult to learn, it turned off a lot of gamers. They didn't want to get into this insane high-level intricacy of inputs and combos and shit. Plus, it was very floaty. Everything in that game was like everyone's floating through the sky like they have no weight. It was very bizarre, like you're fighting on the moon. I don't know why they made it like that. Yes, I played Virtual On. Indeed, I did, and I liked it a lot. Okay. Are we winding down now? Okay. Well, guys, I guess we'll get ready for Fallout 4. I guess the question is, what do you want to do in Fallout 4 today? Do you want to do the Institute, like actually advance the plot now and do the building and the Institute and all that and get that going, maybe do some Institute missions today? Or do we want to start a DLC? I feel like we're at that turning point. Either if you guys know other major side quests that I've missed that you want me to do, we could do those. Or we could do the Institute. Or we could do a DLC. We got to have to think, like, what do you guys want to see today? Right? Rush Fan says, afternoon film, my first game was Sonic the Hedgehog. That's another good first game to have, for sure. These are good first games. Far Harbor, DLC, Nuka World, DLC all day. People are all saying do DLCs. Which DLC? Then we have to decide between the DLCs. Whatever you guys want, I'm down for. As I told you, we're playing a lot of Fallout 4 in the next week, and then it kind of takes a back seat for a while. Maybe getting in there as a night stream every once in a while, but really we're not going to play that much of it for a bit. And then we'll get heavily back into it probably over the summer when things die down. Far Harbor, because Nuka World is boring. Wow. The Blimp, are you crazy? There's been rumors of Bloodborne 2 for a zillion years. There's no weight to that at all. Absolutely not. I'm not taking that bait. Absolutely not. You can't fool me. All right. Let's end the podcast. Thank you guys. When I come back on Friday, obviously I'll talk about my day off, any news that happened during then, how today's streams went, and the like. And we'll get a good week started. Remember last week, because of Summer Game Fest, I had to do a super abridged podcast. I will not have to do that on Friday this week, which is good. It's good to getting back into the normal swing of things after having things kind of thrown for a loop for the week, right? So thank you all, and I shall see you Friday.